Call the meeting to order. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Here.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Next item will be by the Board Vice President.
As we begin this meeting, let us pause for a 60-second moment of silence to reflect, meditate, pray, or engage in any other silent activity. Thank you.
Next item will be the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Cheryl Kelly, the Deputy Board Clerk.
Salute, pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next item will be the adoption of the agenda. We're going to need to pull item 64 as the wording is incorrect.
Yes. I move to formally adopt the agenda with the exception of item number 64, which needs to be removed from the agenda.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Next item will be the February 11th board meeting minutes for approval.
Move approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Next item number 6 will be the vote to approve or disapprove the February 21st board meeting minutes. Special board meeting minutes.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Abstain.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Next item number 7. Before I turn it over to Dr. Dunlap, as many of you may or may not know, tonight is Ms. Cheryl Kelly's last board meeting. And I personally want to thank her. She served for 10 years on the school board, and her effort and her love for Broken Arrow is matched by probably very, very few. I want to thank her. She's taught me a lot. She's been a great leader and example for the person that sits in the president's seat. And I want to thank her for all of her efforts, all of her teamwork. You know, you don't always see eye to eye, but that's how we get to be such a great school district, by not seeing eye to eye and coming up with great plans and to move us forward. So I want to thank Ms. Kelly. Hopefully she doesn't give up on politics, because we could use someone with a love for education in Oklahoma City or Washington, D.C., public education. But I want to thank you. It's been an honor to serve with you. It's been a pleasure, and I hope you enjoy your days ahead.
It's hard for me, so I'm sure I'm going to say something once everybody gets done, but I'm going to get myself together.
Well, Miss Kelly, or better known as when you and I first met, Coach Kelly. As many of y'all may or may not know, we have a special bond. When I was a young man and of great influence, she influenced me and a few of my friends in a powerful way. we may have misbehaved once or twice, and so she corrected us and let us know how we could improve. So, but honestly, I can tell you that I've learned a lot from you as well, and you have been such a great inspiration and such a great person to work through everything that we have accomplished. And, you know, and look back at the years of what we've accomplished. I mean, thick or thin, we've been able to get through this stuff. So thank you for your leadership on this, and I as well advocate for you to carry on.
Thank you.
I'd like to say thank you for your friendship. Thank you for your compassion for this school district. I was green when I got on here, and you taught me a lot about how this works, and I just want to say thank you very much for your friendship. You and David have been great friends to me and my wife, and good luck.
Thank you.
It's difficult. You know, Miss Kelly is a longtime educator. Coach Kelly, longtime educator. Tireless hours, and you may not see this. We do as a board president or a board member, there's a lot of things you do in the community, and only thing you get paid for is thank yous. There's no money, none of that, and there's a lot of things with the city helping us connect that bond and relationship that goes on behind the scenes. And I can tell you, she deserves a vacation for sure, because she's put in a lot of hours. She's been involved in a lot of things to help really bring this shining light to Broken Arrow. And we have moved forward. Our board is light years ahead. I've had the pleasure of being on here for 6 years, Cheryl, as you all appointed me as a board member for the 1 year. And wow, how times have changed. Our board is so much better because of you. So I just can't say thank you enough, and really appreciate it and appreciate all your time.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I would echo all of that. So a few details for those of you that aren't really familiar with Miss Kelly, and I think most of us are. She's actually been associated with Broken Arrow Schools for over 40 years. She worked as an employee here for 30 years, and then she served 10 years as a board member. And in that time, as you can see, she has formed a lot of friendships, and is a very respected and loved colleague and board member. It's funny, as I heard people saying, well, you taught me how to do this. You taught me how to do it too. You know, you were here when I came on. But she started her career with Broken Arrow Schools at Haskell Elementary. She was a third grade teacher for 2 years. I don't know if it's okay to say this, but I guess I can say it since it's your last board meeting. She made $8,500 a year when she started here. Isn't that crazy?
Told you still didn't pay a lot of money.
It's always been that way. From there, she moved on. She taught at senior high for 7 years, North Intermediate for 3 years, Spring Creek for 2 years, Haskell Middle School for 14 years, and then she was a director here at Central on Main for 2 years. And then she's been a board member, as I said, for 10 years. Several of those were as board presidents. So I think she's kind of raised us all. Not only was she serving there, but she also served as the OSSBA, which is the Oklahoma School Boards Association. She served as a regional director since 2012, so 6+ years. She has also been serving on the EDC board since 2011, so she served there for 9 years. My goodness, I was trying to add up, you know, I taught English, so there's a reason why I struggle with this, but I was trying to add up maybe even the hours or years combined, 25+ years in service. If you combine all those things together, that is just really, it just shows what a woman of character you are. And we are all very, very fortunate to have worked with you and alongside of you. So thank you. And although she still will be in the community and part of us, I'm sure we will see you. We'll see you at Retired Educators, I know for sure, because she always attends those. But we will miss you. We'll miss your dedication to the students and the employees, number one. You always had the voice of what's best for our kids and what's best for our employees, and we appreciate you for that. Your heart is in it for the right reasons. And also your passion for Broken Arrow. It's no secret that you love this town so much. You embody what we say when we mean a lifelong educator, and we will truly miss you, but we know we will see you a lot because you're part of this town. So, and I echo what all of the gentlemen said, and we want you to represent us in another office, because we do need a voice of reason both at the state level and the federal level. So we'll all be right behind you, should you choose to do so. And with that, I would like for you to come up. We have a small gift for you. And basically, this is in recognition for your service and 10 years on the school board.
Yeah, let's do one.
It's really hard after something like that. It's just, you know, service to me is a really significant thing. And I have been extremely honored to work with all of you because, you know, there's no way in the world an organization can be successful without a dedication and commitment to what's most important. And one of the things that I take the most amount of pride in since I came onto the board is the absolute dedication and commitment to establishing a well culture. It doesn't take any time to lose that. And every single one of us are critical to ensuring that our culture as an organization remains committed first to students. But we can have a learning environment that is significant for all of our children unless we ensure that environment is safe for our students, safe for our employees, and we have got to ensure that our employees have a level playing field as it relates to their input. Their input is so vital to the overall success of our organization. And I am extremely pleased to work with all of the board members that I have been so honored to work with. And each one of them bring a uniqueness to the board, and that is critical. And I think sometimes we lose sight of how important every person's voice is in an organization. And I can tell you when I came on this board in 2009, we were suffering to that extent. And I can say too that as we have moved forward, we have had committed people to our vision, to the strategic plan of the organization. And that's essential because we've got to have that roadmap. That roadmap involves our community, and we have a dedicated community in this district. And we couldn't do it without them. Our parents are dedicated. Our community has voted for our bond issues. They continue to support this school district. But one thing that we all have to ensure, that means whether you're an employee or you're a board member or whoever you are, you've got to ensure that that safe place remains and that we continue to have an organization that respects different voices and different diversities, because that's what makes us better. And I want to say one last time, that is what I'm most proud of as I leave this board. Thank you.
Again, Ms. Kelly, thank you very much. And hope you enjoy your final meeting. And Ms. Welpley said hallelujah when you said something about culture when you got on the board, so back there. Okay, next item, number 8, will be Ms. Burns.
President Allen, members of the board, Dr. Dunlop, this is always one of my favorite. Hello. This is always one of my favorite duties as the high school principal, to get to come before you and to tell you of the, well, to recognize the great things that our students are doing. So tonight I want to introduce someone very special to you. Each year, you may or may not be aware that the high schools in the state of Oklahoma nominate students for academic all-state. The students who are nominated are the cream of the crop. They are the very, very top-notch students. This year, almost 700 students were nominated from across the state of Oklahoma. And the selection committee then looks at those students, and the top 100 are chosen. And Broken Arrow High School was fortunate to have an academic all-stater this year. She is Miss Bailey Vaught. Bailey is amazing. She is involved in so many different things and somehow still finds time to make incredible grades and an incredible difference at Broken Arrow High School. And I told her I wanted her to tell a little bit about what her future plans are. So, Bailey.
Thank you. So right now I've been accepted to college, and so I'm planning in the fall to study at Stanford University. I'm planning on majoring in art history right now, and minoring in theater making / acting is what they call it there. And I'm not sure where that's going to lead, but as of right now, I would enjoy, I think, interning at a museum and then possibly directing or curating works, and if not, I would really love to teach art history. One of my favorite classes was Miss Bartlett. She taught art history last year, and that really got me back into teaching and stuff. And if not, possibly doing like theater things on the side as well, because my heart's in theater. I just came out from musical rehearsal a few minutes ago, so yeah, that's what I'm planning on doing the next couple of months.
Students like Bailey make us look awfully good.
Congratulations, Bailey, and best of luck. She's getting out of here. She's acting like she didn't hear me. Next, item number 9, comments from the public. We have none. Item number 10, Mr. Hanema. President
Allen, Dr. Dunlap, members of the board, I get the privilege of introducing the Broken Arrow Public Schools Foundation again this year. Some of the green-shirted folks and the black-shirted folks in the back. One of the biggest things the foundation does each year is teacher grants. And I'm going to bring up President Sharon Welpley in a minute, and I'm excited to announce that this year's total is higher than it was last year, higher than it was the year before, and it's one of the highest totals that we've had in the history of this foundation. So it's always fun to give money away to support our classrooms as opposed to talk about funding shortages and stuff. So I have some good news to report, and I'm going to turn it over to the president of our foundation, Sharon Welpley.
Good evening, members of the Board of Education. Dr. Dunlap, it's a pleasure for us to be here. Our group has been in existence since 1992, and it began to help our teachers with creative ideas, to provide supplies and opportunities for them. It's going to be my pleasure to introduce the head of our grant committee, Ms. Allison Verrett.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. On a personal note, I'm a K-12 Tiger, and Coach Kelly, you had me at Spring Creek and Haskell, and thank you so much for your service and your dedication to this district. As Sharon said, the goal of the foundation is to help enrich the experience of the students at Broken Arrow Public Schools, and our mission is to assist, connect, and enhance our public school system. And one of the ways that we do that every year is through our grant process, and we allow teachers to apply every year. And the best day of my year is the day that we get to go deliver checks to teachers. It's amazing to see how creative our teachers are. We all know they are. Even when we do have budget shortfalls and funding issues, the ideas that come out of the staff of these schools are truly amazing and inspiring. We do want to thank all the teachers that take the time out of their day to apply for our grants. It is an extra thing to do. And we also want to be sure to thank our site principals for helping us communicate and organize so we can come present the opportunity to their staff and also help encourage everyone to apply every year. This year we are awarding 66 different grants with a total of $37,242. I will get this right the third time. $37,242.43. And we would ask that you approve the acceptance of that fund.
Move approval.
Second?
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you to the foundation. I had the great pleasure of serving on that as well. What a wonderful organization, and quite impressive the amount of money that's in the foundation. I believe the endowment's over $1 million or something like that. That's pretty impressive for an organization. Okay, next item, number 11. We have a bunch of people here too. Okay.
I'm here.
Mr. Chitty, you're
I
up.
snuck up to the side here.
Okay.
Okay. Perfect. You can't just wave at it? No? Okay. Good evening, President Allen, Dr. Dunlop, and the board. I appreciate your time tonight. And how are we going to miss those speeches that just sit there and you catch yourself not breathing because you're like so engaged in what she's saying? So thank you. You know, I know we've had I'm going to miss you. Okay. All right. So I just wanted to, we'll jump into this. So this is just the strategic plan update for 3.1.1, 3.1.2. And then I'll give a little touch on 3.2.1 as well, okay? We've had good progress. This is just what we started with. 3.1.1 is provide online resources and learning opportunities for teachers to effectively use district technology. And this kind of morphed in a way towards more just online resources for instruction and technology uses. So it's kind of grown very positively. 3.1.2, provide highly qualified instructional technology personnel to support teachers in the use of various district learning technologies and student-centered instructional practice. So this is really behind making sure that the people that are doing these things are highly qualified and can make the biggest impact at our schools. I know this is kind of hard to see. I'm not sure if that TV's over there a little bit bigger, but I tried to get as much on the slide as I could. But the first part is 3.1.1, which is the resources, the online resources. So we have that BA Hub, which if you were here last year, that was really kind of the start of it. We kind of split it into two sections. We have a professional section and an instructional section, because there's a lot of pieces that teachers need to learn about when it comes to just their professional prowess at school. So like eSchool, just functionality of taking attendance, doing grades, doing those types of things. And then we have instructional, which is best practices in the classroom, you know, how they deliver instruction. So we kind of split those into those two parts. One of the steps that we've taken since the year, since I'm really excited about, is Elevate. This is what will be our first step into kind of like micro-credentialing teachers, giving them a way to earn knowledge through an online portal that is also going to be supported at our sites by our FILs through one-on-one instruction as well. So really excited. It's kind of that step into the PD plan for our teachers and giving them a chance to kind of grow professionally. Tutorials, so we have 169 video guides that have had 13,000 views just this year. So if you just take that time of online learning, they have a lot there. We have two other media types. We have bits and bytes and tips and tricks. We throw these out through Canvas and various other media resources. And they're just ways for us to pass out information to them that are real and relevant to them at the time. When it comes to things that we, you know, if teachers come to us about 5 times for something, we're like, okay, this needs to go out and be communicated to everybody. We'll throw together a quick flyer that makes sense to them, throw it up to where they see it the next time they get into Canvas or any of those other resources. And those have been very effective as well. We celebrate our teachers with badges and through micro-credentialing with Elevate. 3.1.2, so this is about you making sure our staff is highly qualified and ready to support their staff, and making sure that we have enough to keep the level of support that we need. So we were very, very fortunate to find funding to hire an additional digital learning specialist for this next school year, which is going to be amazing for us to continue that support into 6th through 12th as the process grows and as we get more devices into our middle schools. Blended learning team growth. We're a part of several different consortiums, making sure that we're on top of what's going on in education in our area, and attending our conferences. Live training. So this is really exciting. We've been tracking training for 2 years now because of, to make sure that we're certified as a district. And we've had over 5,370 total hours of training, and that's, like in front of people training, not just online training, just this calendar year from August. So that's really exciting. Over 1,215 total attendees through that. That's done by my team as well as the Phils at their site. Their Phils provide 62 professional development opportunities each month, and we're really excited about how they're going to add growth and make this Elevate PD very enriching for our teachers. Still to be accomplished. Really, this is not something that ends. So we just say our strategic plan is based on growth of teaching and learning, supported by technology. Teaching and technology will continuously grow and adapt to support our ever-changing world. All action steps are deployed and functional, but will continue to grow. So one of our biggest steps into that was really that launch of that PD, so we're really excited about that. Recommendations, that they're all operational, and we recommend that both action plans continue to guide and influence the growth. The next one is 2.1, and this one has created a development plan that identifies diverse and sustainable revenue resource streams for that enable BAPS to meet current and future technology needs. So kind of broke this up into 3 different sections. So we're really going to talk about kind of the instructional technology piece right now. Our current Chromebook inventory is just shy of 14,000 devices. So that's quite a bit, and so we're really excited about that. We have 3 pieces of software in place that helps to manage those, keep students safe online, as well as manage inventory so that we make sure that we get our biggest return on investment for those devices. And then also some of that goes down to the Phil. They have an inventory at their site that kind of knows where they are in the building. So making sure that we're keeping our resource. Student device sustainability. We now have a plan for secondary sustainability for device and refresh, 6 through 12. Okay, so that was developed here just recently, so we're excited about that. So that ties into this as well. Creative funding. We are utilizing funds across departments to meet the technology needs of the district. That's a sentence. And then Chrome Desk Fund was just thrown up there as well. That statement's just kind of, we're all working together here. So the technology department, the instructional department, finance, just to find ways to get things that we know are important for teaching and learning in our classrooms. Okay. Still to be accomplished, there are still many aspects to this piece of the strategic plan to be evaluated by finance, technology, and instruction. Their collaboration will be integral to meeting the goal of 3.2.1. Recommendations, it's still in development. Action steps are continuously evaluated. We recommend that action plan needs another year of implementation. Any questions?
Well, I would like to say that, again, getting back to 2009, when we began the implementation fully of a technology bond initiative, that was part of our overall technology. But to look at where we are from an infrastructure standpoint, to look at our business processes and see where they are and how functional they are allowing us as an organization to be, which is freeing up time for our employees to do other things that they can be doing, is a compliment to everyone within the technology division. I would also say, as you're looking for new resources, I know that we as an organization are far more ahead of what I'm saying here, so I don't want to speak down to anyone as to whether or not they have followed up with businesses and that kind of thing. But I do think there's an opportunity as we build the STEM and as we develop more as a school system, our technology, to incorporate business partnerships. And I think that will free up potentially some dollars where we may have more opportunity to use those dollars instructionally. So again, I want to compliment everyone, and it's taken, obviously a good 10 years with the $666 million, $2 million a year for technology. That's a lot of money, but I can tell you our students are far better off today, and our employees are far better off today as well.
100%. Productivity is huge, and they almost don't realize it unless you took it from them, how they do things different now than they did 10 years ago. But when you see teachers that aren't going home with the piles of papers and how they're saying that these tools that we're giving them do add to their productivity and their time back is huge. And so I love that. I'll take note of that, and as we continue to discuss future planning, that's a great way to get engagement and some additional funds to help support the process.
Well, and Mr. Chitty, I'd like to add too, I think this is a really a testament to how we have erased the lines between the silos. Having been here 9 years when I first got here, and it's not a criticism, but it was really hard to get anything done because everyone had their area and there was no crossover. And now we don't do anything without crossing over. And the collaboration, I love the attitude of we give you this big audacious goal, and instead of saying, well, we can't do it because we're too big, or we can't do it because there's too many kids, instead this is a challenge, and let's all put our thinking caps on and figure it out together. Yeah. And we really don't have anyone to follow because there's no one our size that's doing this
really
nearby. So we're inventing the wheel building the plane as we fly it or something like that. But I admire the collaboration, and you mentioned finance. I mean, it's instruction, it's finance, it's our operations, it's everybody together that's trying to make this happen, and it benefits the students, so that's huge.
Yeah, and the other big thing is we know that just throwing devices in the classrooms and new programs to the teachers doesn't mean anything. At some point, they don't even want it. So you have to do due diligence to make sure the stuff you're bringing in is going to last, and it's going to make the true change that causes them to adopt it naturally. So I think we've done a really good job of that in our district, as well as making sure that they see the value in it and pushing it out in a sustainable way.
And the other thing too, and I appreciate this very much, because you got to have a plan to replace, in every element of our organization, or else you're just buying it to buy it. And it doesn't serve a purpose. So I think we're doing a great job at that. And I think that as it relates to knowing what we have and knowing what we need, we're there.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. And the value is huge. I mean, a device that lasts a student 5 to 6 years is costing the district $44 a year for the student to have that device, which is really affordable. I mean, when you one textbook probably, so it's huge. And so I feel like we've really, I was at my brother talked my son into going to do jujitsu the other day, which he ran into his little girlfriend at there, and he got his butt kicked. So that's a whole other thing. But I was there, and this girl was sitting in the corner doing her math on one of our devices, sitting there with her paper, but going through the questions. And like for me, that was a moment like, this is really cool.
Validation of
because sometimes you don't always see that on that side, but that student wouldn't have been able to be engaged in her learning at that moment if we wouldn't have had that resource. So
well, you can tell how you all have changed kind of the culture of the thought, because when I get emails from parents or in conversation, it's not why are you doing this, it's why doesn't my child have a Chromebook in junior high now?
Right.
So it's changed completely
and we're doing a good job. I mean, you have to think too, devices just came in about 6 years ago in general. So companies are catching up to what we're doing. So I feel like just this year we've really gotten we've always had a good filter to keep our kids safe, but we've turned that back to having some resources for parents, having some resources for teachers when it comes to tracking, and our principals in a seamless, nice way that's not adding too much to their plate. So all those things are coming together, and we're keeping an eye out for the best ways to roll those as well.
Just don't lose the momentum.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Well, I have to keep going, so I appreciate you guys.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Stecker.
Good evening, everyone. Ms. Kelly, you're doing great. Proud of you, so hanging in there. Okay, I'm going to move to action plans 4.1.1 and 4.2.1, primarily dealing with employees was the section that we had. A little bit of an overview from our first year. We started a new hire survey where we're capturing data 30 days, 60 days, and 90 days into employment, which is giving us a lot of feedback on how the onboarding process, technology, getting our employees up and going. We also have a exiting employee survey as well as retention rates. Most of our focus in year one was really on the business side of HR. We implemented the health issue, our teledoc, which we have quite a few employees on that. It was a voluntary benefit. We also did the pay study on our clerical staff in the fall and implemented that last January for raises for them. Probably the most of our time was spent on the payroll, time and attendance. We moved from frontline. Before we was on a queue system, which we were still manually calculating salaries on a weekly basis. So that was a huge implementation. With that, it gave our employees the ability to clock in from the tablets, from their smartphones, from their desktop, anytime they're on a Wi-Fi, versus having to always walk to one kiosk in a building. The other thing is the employee can see their timesheets in real time. So it's very important that we empowered our employees. We also, at the same time, moved them to ASOP, or absent management, for our support employees as well. So now they're entering their leave, can check their balances. So it's really a nice feature, trying to empower employees to have them see the authority of what's going on. The other major thing, which was just really paid dividends for us during our work stoppage last year, was we moved our support employees to the semi-monthly annualized pay. That's really the same concept as our certified staff. We take that pay and spread it over 12 months. It's been a really big hit with them, knowing that when they come back from a winter break, they get a salary all summer long as well. They're getting money as well. So those are some of our overviews for year one. Starting here in year two, we moved a little more to our employee relations side. We're focusing a lot on recruit and hire and our onboarding. We did implement, through your all's approval, Frontline. As you can see, we're moving our devices to Frontline and HR, which is keeping us from having multiple devices, entering data multiple times as well. So right now we're going through it. Lindsay Taylor is heading this up in our office. She's doing a wonderful job. Excuse me, on the recruit and hire, getting that up and going. Really, as you can see, we're moving HR to a paperless environment. The next piece of that will be the Frontline Central, which our onboarding will come on. With that, we will start having videos. The information will be sent out ahead of time before our new employee orientation. They'll be able to review benefits. They'll be able to work with technology, have everything taken care of, that when they show up for our new employee orientation, it's a time to celebrate, to really empower employees that once they leave here, they can get into Canvas, they can get into eSchool Plus, they can check their email, Frontline products. So that is a major thing that we're working on as well. Hope to have that up around the August time. September probably more probably on task there with that. The next thing that we have done this year is our evaluation. Ms. Kearns was really involved in this. We have moved everything to the electronic platform, as well as we have our administrators as well as our coordinators. We have moved them to more of a goal setting type evaluation, where they have their mid-year evaluation as well as the final. They actually have their, I should step back a little bit, they have their first initial evaluation or goals, then they have their mid-year, and then they'll have their final. And everything's moved to the electronic platform as well for them. And the last thing is our pay study for our support employees, and we implemented that in January. Last things to be accomplished, as you can see here, I'm not going to go through all these with you, but we've got quite a bit we'll start working on next year. So any questions?
Now I'm going to make a brief statement, though. I mean, you can see just significantly a whole lot of things that are occurring as it relates to electronic access to those that are applying to Broken Arrow Public Schools and those who are on board, which as you work with employees on this, it should, again, free up a lot of time for our employees to do other things, which I know that's a big part of this. But I just want to compliment everybody on the HR staff. This is a big deal.
Just doing the payroll alone.
It's a big
is
deal.
Huge thing. Great job. Thank you. Okay, next item will be the approval of the general consent items.
Move approval of the general consent items 13 through 55.
Okay.
Ms. Kelly?
We had a motion.
Yes.
I don't have it. Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Next item, 56, Ms. Kearns.
Do we not have a voting button for
Did
that?
it not pop up?
Scroll up a little bit.
I'm
No,
down.
he's not. It locked up.
I have it manually, so,
Okay.
sorry.
That's fine. We can do that. Ms. Kearns.
Good evening. I want to piggyback on and echo my sentiments of well wishes and thank you for your support these past 3 years. Not a lot of people like policies or anything to do with the mundane part of my job, but you do, and I've appreciated the help and the guidance. And today I'll bring you your last one you vote on, which happens to be marijuana tonight.
We're on that now, 56.
So, the Agricultural Improvement Act of 2018 was signed by President Trump. It's a federal bill that modified the definition of marijuana by excluding hemp with a THC level of 0.3 or lower. This made us go back and modify our medical marijuana because it obviously had a 0.3 or lower for hemp still in our policy as a classified drug, and it no longer is. We bring this tonight as an action item instead of a first read item because it is mandated that we change that by legislation, and that is recommended by RFR for us to do tonight.
And this is just getting us our policies in line with
Federal
what's already
law.
been approved that we hadn't done already.
Correct. Correct. We like to keep our policies current and within law. So I do ask that you approve the revisions to Board Policy 5375 at this time.
Make a motion to approve?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Take them out again.
You have to do
Okay.
him manually.
Okay.
Next item, 57, Ms. Bergwall.
Good evening. And Ms. Kelly, I have enjoyed working with you for the last 9-10 years and kind of changing the face of the district. When I came in, we got to execute those bond issues, and it's really been a pleasure working with you on that and changing this district. So I bring to you tonight an MOU with the City of Broken Arrow. This is on the Creek Trail project. You approved in the consent items a permanent dedication and right-of-way for the trail to go through at First Street to extend south from First across New Orleans, across the Freshman Academy project and clear to Arrow Springs. When I looked at the location of that trail, I thought, well, what if we build on the east part of our property? And so with discussions with the city, I asked them, if we build there, will you be willing to move the trail? And that's what this MOU is for them to say, yes, if you build there and the trail needs to be relocated, they will do that at their expense.
Cool.
Questions, discussion?
Move approval?
Second?
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes, there it is.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Mine's not
Ms.
there
Bergwall.
now.
Next
You're not doing
item,
it?
Mr. Chitty.
I'm back. All right. So what I'm bringing to you guys today is a motion to purchase 3,050 devices for this next school year. What this is going to allow us to do is this is part of our sustainability plan for 6 through 12. One of the things when we look at our analytics on our student usage is our middle schools have sometimes, depending on the week, more online activity and educational resourced from the internet than our high school students. Our middle school teachers are begging at us, asking for these devices. Are we going to get them into 7th grade? Are we going to get them into 6th grade? Our parents are asking for them, I have friends with kids. Hey, are we going to be able to get devices for our kids? So they're just really being used instructionally sound in our middle schools, and we're really excited to grow that throughout this next year. So what this will allow us to do is, if we purchase this, is to truly do our distribution at 8th grade, and we do it at 8th grade and 9th grade this next year. we take the 8th grade devices that they have now and move them to 7th grade, and we take the seniors and give them to 6th grade. So next year, that would give us full 6 through 12.
Right.
We get very, working through this, so we have to get creative. And then what this would kind of do is the next year we try to get creative with funding again and do another 3,000 purchase, and we would distribute in 7th and 8th grade. And then we'd be done with double purchases, and this is our sustainability plan, is then we'd start purchasing at 7th grade. What we've realized is the devices have become better, structurally, integrity-wise, so they last longer. And so we would like to do a true, after they're seniors, don't really, because right now we do a lot of manpower to take them back in, redistribute them, track them, and do all those when we're finding they're lasting a little bit longer. So this will get us to a true sustainability plan, but with one double purchase would get us 6th through 12th grade this next year. So I bring to you guys the request to approve the purchase of 3,050 Chromebooks from Trinity 3. Total cost to the district is $800,000 and will be paid from instructional bond funds.
Mr. Chitty, do we competitively bid those out to multiple vendors?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, do we? Okay, so when in the past we don't do like set it down on the paper and have the vendors come and bid on those. What I have done is I call up the area vendors and say, okay, this is the device that we're looking at, and we look at several devices because as a Chromebook we don't really care which they are, right? So we look at, give them a couple of devices that are up there that we're looking for, and then when we have them submit what they would like. Trinity 3 has always been very competitive. Not only are they offering the device, $262 for the Chromebook, with that they're giving us 5 years of warranty. So for 5 years, they're taking the exposure on the repair and replacement of the device. What this is going to allow us to do as part of our sustainability plan is utilize our Chrome Desk funds for instructional programming and building the instructional practice around the device throughout time. So that's something else, as well as they are also, there's a lot of technology work that needs to be done when you buy Chromebooks. Our first couple years that have done it, we've come up in the summer, worked hours and hours with the technology folks to put our hands on every single one of them and do all this work that has to be done before they come into the district, and that's something that they do for that $262 a device as well. So it's called the white glove service plus a 5-year warranty for that rate.
The others don't do that?
Not very many vendors do that. I reached out to 3 different ones. Dell would do that. But my worry about buying from Dell and having that, because when you buy a 5-year warranty, which we bought from Trinity last year, you have to understand is you get into a process and procedure with that company. And so whenever that next year comes, if you jump somewhere else, now you're putting all these different places that you're going in there, which is fine if it's going to be, where it's going to save us money to go there. But Dell offered the same kind of deal. But when you go with Dell, now you're talking about being device specific. So if the next year their device wasn't good or they didn't have good service or anything, then we'd be stuck with Dell to do this, right? So there's more to consider than just like the vendor and because of the services and things that they're offering us throughout the time of the purchase.
Move approval.
Second. Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, and I do appreciate the questions. Thank you.
Next item, Mr. Perry. Get some reactions here.
I also had the pleasure of working with Miss Kelly, co-taught with her at PE at Haskell Middle School, and I can say it was truly one of my most enjoyable years teaching, working alongside you. Learned a lot. And I know Mr. Stecker did the same thing. You said his locker room and office was much cleaner all the time. Mine was shocking. We have a calendar committee comprised of teachers, parents, and administrators that work every year to devise a calendar for our instructional 19 and 20 school year. This year's calendar again is pretty consistent with last year's or current year's calendar. Kept a few things pretty much the same. One of the most notable that get asked about is the late start Wednesdays and how that impacts our school year. The committee was wholeheartedly behind this because it is a benefit to instruction and obviously impacts student learning, having those times to work on PLCs together with their colleagues. We looked at some different dates other than Wednesday, or days other than Wednesday, on Monday and Fridays. The problem with both of those days, those are high teacher absentee days. We felt like the Wednesdays would be more consistent. We're used to it now. And as we move along the next couple years, again, continue to study that. We also discussed an early out for elementary. There's some still logistical battles with transportation that we're trying to fight just with the square mileage of our school district. But we did keep those the same for this year as our recommendation. One of the biggest change you'll see on there is a full week of off for Thanksgiving that week. We talked about both fall break and Thanksgiving on Monday and Tuesday. It is difficult for teachers really to get any lessons started for those 2 days and any continuity during that week to carry through during that time. And but at the same time, we didn't feel like it was the right thing to do with parents and have a full week off for fall break and Thanksgiving. But we felt like Thanksgiving was a better time frame, and it would be better added on at the end of the school year to account for that. We also looked at our professional development days for teachers. We typically have done those the last couple years right around the Labor Day holiday in September, 2 days back to back. We felt like it was time, again, from our instructional team and recommendations to spread those out into September 30th, and the second one being January 6th on our return back from the winter break. We changed parent-teacher conferences the day off from working those evenings from the Friday before spring break to April 10th, because we felt like the April month is a long month for teachers and students with no time off, and that was very well received by the committee. And the last thing that I'd like to point out is our start dates. Although for K through 12, it's the same as in the past, but our pre-K had some different ideas, and I would like Kristen Hennis to discuss that a little bit more in depth for us right now.
Thank you. Our pre-K teachers and administration every year build classes without knowing students at all. And so I took a proposal to leadership about just moving our pre-K start date 2 days, and that will give them 2 days to do assessments, parent interviews, have some more one-on-one time with students so that we can build classes that are more balanced and can then also know things about students before they start their first day so that we can give them a better start to their educational process.
I do think, you know, what's really good, what's really great about having this process, I've seen it grow over the years, is that we do have an opportunity for people to bring in fresh new ideas, and we can construct our calendar accordingly, which makes sense because we're doing it really for the instruction of the students, and certainly giving our staff members the ability to do that at a greater level, which what you're proposing here is significant, and I think that's really going to be of great benefit to the four-year-old program and to the teachers and parents alike. I mean, I think it's great, so I applaud you for bringing that forward.
And another little added benefit from that too, to hopefully you won't get as many phone calls to our school and transportation, is that will alleviate some traffic around our 4 ECCs those first 2 days, and kind of let school get started and people to start riding the bus and getting in a routine. So with all that said, this is the calendar, again, from a very collaborative effort from our calendar committee. It's gets a little, not volatile at times, but we do argue a lot because there's so many different ideas on how to get to a calendar that kind of works for everybody, for both teachers and students.
Well, I do think the April 10th date is a very, that's a very good thing, because I do see that stretch of time really, really difficult. It was difficult for us when we were going to school, and it's okay to do things differently. The other thing, Mr. Perry, I would like for you to address is, although the calendar relates to the instruction, we have 12-month employees as well. So could you speak to how this calendar might impact them around Thanksgiving?
Yes, if you'll see on the calendar there, the black square around the 27th, 28th, and 29th, that's when the students, the 12-month employees will have off that week. They will be required to be at work the 25th and 26th unless they take vacation days that they have allotted to them during that time period.
Yeah, I just want to make sure they
Yes.
all know that we've got a plan.
That is
Yes.
correct. Yes, we keep the days consistent every year for 12-month employees. So, and I also want to point out too, on that Thanksgiving break, TPS is doing that, Tulsa Public Schools, for this coming year, and we may see a few more districts move to that.
Well, Mr. Perry, one of the points I think that TPS and that we looked at as well is knowing that chronic absenteeism is part of our accountability plan now. At the state level, we were seeing so many absences on those shortened weeks that it, like it or not, it has a big impact on us, especially at some of our very youngest ages and some of our very oldest ages at the high school. So we're hoping that we'll see some improvement on those chronic absenteeism rates for next year as well.
You think it's because of the holidays? I mean, you're gonna take 2 days, 3 days in October, so it's kind of the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the shortened week, and that's what Mr. Perry was saying, is they didn't want to do both those weeks because the parents might get a little upset if we're taking that much time off, and I can see the point. But around those holidays of November, it allows families more time to travel, and they don't have to make a choice about, do we travel to see family or do we stay here and keep our kids in school?
One other thing I want to point out is we decided not to add a virtual day plan this year, but our contingency calendar has 3 days built in of weather days or snow days. If we use those 3, we would have the opportunity to add more school days, or we could go to a virtual day also, because the district has worked through that. We used this year back in January to have a practice run. Everything went very well, and our instructional team said it was a great time for them. We had a survey that we got positive feedback from it too.
Mr. Perry, on that virtual day though, if you take the 3 days and all of a sudden you switch to a virtual day, will we have a plan started that people know, okay, because you can't determine what the weather's going to do. So how do you know when to kick that virtual day is going to happen to get those things to those elementary kids, whatever it may be?
It's going to take a lot of communication, and I can't guarantee you we would do that even.
Okay.
We did not put in the calendar, if you'll notice, that on the 4th day we would start using a virtual day. We're going to have to kind of assess the school year and see if it's just going to be a day out here and there, or is it going to be, it looks like just one day of poor weather. That may be a good day to add in a virtual day during that time period. But we'll have to send lessons home, be prepared on the front end before we do that.
Okay. I appreciate you and your committee's work.
They
I
do
know
a
it's not
great job.
easy. A lot of moving parts there, so I just want to
Did a
thank
great
you all.
job. Thank you.
Any discussion?
Move approval?
Second?
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Perry. Next, item number 60, Mr. Blackburn.
Good evening. And Ms. Kelly, thank you again for your service to the district. Tonight I bring to your, hopefully for your approval, the amount of $108,230.75 to purchase a new video management system, or at least start the steps. To replace the current NUO system that we have would cost us a little over $700,000. We don't currently have that. The fact that principals have brought it to our attention that this system is almost 7 years old and is starting to have issues, and the fact that the current company does not support that model anymore, we've decided to go out and research 6 different companies to determine which one would be best for the district. We also discussed ways of pooling money together in regards to what I have in my budget and technology. That's why I'm speaking for technology tonight, to try to start this step knowing that we can't wait another 7 years or another bond issue in regards to starting this process.
So question I have is, as it relates to safety, that's under your purview, and then technology is under Mr. Stout's purview. So, of course, there's cross collaboration there. But I guess my question is, moving forward, since we have a refresh plan and we have a replacement plan associated to technology, it seems as though that's something we would need also in our safety component. Is that correct?
That is correct, and we are actually working together in regards to that. And I believe they have a plan to present to you in the summer.
Okay. And let me ask you one other question. Since you've had a little bit of experience at this, is it your experience that typically, vendors supply, they supply, or at least they say they do, all the bells and whistles, and then that system is only good for 5 years? Or do we have companies out there that have been sustained doing business a long period of time?
Well, you have a little bit of both, especially with technology as the new bells and whistles come about. The nice thing with this, in comparison to what we currently have, it's non-proprietary, so we continue to use the cameras that we currently have, whereas some systems, if you tried to switch over, would cost us $1.8 million to look at just changing cameras, servers, and then licensing. Of course, everything's gone to licensing, so you can't necessarily own it outright every year. But in that regards, strike that. We do own the licenses with this company. We looked at those 6 different companies, and we basically took one school that we had identified that needed to be on our first steps to improve, and based on the money that they were requesting from that, we came down to the company we felt like that would serve us the best, and also is used by universities here in the state as well as many public schools.
So I'm going to assume they're not the cheapest.
Well, no, actually, they gave us the better deal unless we stayed with a current company. We do have another company that was placed at the newer school, elementary. We also are not happy with their service that they provided, and that's why we're looking to go elsewhere.
Oh. Okay.
Any other discussion?
Move approval?
Second?
Motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Ms. Webb. Next item, Ms. Enoff.
Good evening. Ms. Kelly, I also want to echo all the sentiment tonight. Thank you so much for your service, and as a business person, greatly appreciate your attention to detail and keeping us all on our toes. Your unwavering support of the district has been very impactful, so thank you very much.
Is that the right one?
I can try and talk about the strategic plan, but it probably wouldn't go very well. Monthly financials through the end of February. This time of year, we are monitoring revenue very, very closely. Every dollar that comes into the district is very important because we are getting down to the crunch time of winding things down for the end of the fiscal year. State aid, you can see the dramatic difference with the impact of the state mandated teacher pay raise. And our ad valorem has also continued to come in strong. We do receive one last big final payment in April, and that'll pretty much wrap up our ad valorem. So state aid and ad valorem are very important to general fund revenue. Building fund, same situation with our ad valorem. This is really what drives that fund, and we'll get one last payment to finalize our fund balance for building fund. And child nutrition, kind of the outlier there is in our federal sources. There's some timing with claims, and the State Department and Ms. Goodacre has been very diligent of communicating with finance on where that stands, and they are had some technical issues that they're working through, but we have started to receive some of those payments. Our general fund expenditures, obviously, salaries and benefits with the raises that went into effect. You can see we're much more invested, if you will, into these categories. Roughly 85 to 90% of our overall budget goes to this category, and we view those as fixed costs. In zero-based budgeting, we have to account for these costs first above all else, and so you do the math, and there's not a whole lot left for operation of the rest of the school district to support 2,000 employees and 19,000 students, but we do a great job of being strategic with the rest of those funds to make them go a very long way. Building fund, the good thing about our building fund is because the fund balance has continued to grow as we have grown as a district, square footage wise, we have been able to sustain the costs in this fund with the help of partnering with Synergistic to look at our utility costs to make sure that we're expending our dollars wisely with utilities, increased rental revenue. All of these things go to help sustain a very small dedicated source of revenue. And child nutrition, we're again extremely lucky to have a very productive, well-run, well-managed child nutrition department that is self-sustaining for their employee benefit costs, salaries, supplies, materials, workers' comp, everything that can be charged to child nutrition is. And as I mentioned, now through the end of the year, we will be monitoring revenue and expenses. Our April 1 cutoff spending deadline is quickly approaching, and we'll be monitoring how we come out for the end of this 18-19 school year.
Questions?
Well, Ms. Enif, I would like to say that the entire financial department has done an outstanding job, and it has been an honor to work with each of you. And I feel like anytime I have a question, I get the answer. And again, it gets down to no question is a bad question. You know, it's kind of like when the parents call me and the first thing they want to say is, I don't want to be negative. And I say, no, you're not. Just ask the question, and I just feel like we get the answers. So I do appreciate the time and the commitment of everybody in the department. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I have the honor of being up here, but I work with an incredible group of people on a daily basis that are very much behind the scenes that make all this happen. So a lot of credit goes out to our entire department because while they are in a support role, they're vital to the success of our organization.
Okay, next item, number 62.
My next item is to ask the board to approve entering into negotiations with BAEA for the 1920 school year.
Discussion or questions?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Thank you. Next item, 63.
My next item is to ask the board to approve the application for temporary appropriations. This goes to the County Excise Board to set our legal budget for the 1920 school year, and then from there we conduct our own financial statements and audit, and then we bring the actual operating budget to the board for your approval in the fall.
Okay.
Questions or discussion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Item 64 has been removed. Item 65.
My next item is to ask the board to approve the services of Hilborn and Weidman for bond counsel. This came about as we were going through the second phase of our lease revenue bond sales, and they will help us make sure that we're staying in compliance with SEC filings, post-issuance compliance, and a variety of other checklist items to make sure our lease revenue bonds and our general obligation bonds are in compliance.
Move approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Next item, 66.
My last item I'm very excited to present on behalf of the Fine Arts Department. The next group that would like to ask the board to be formally sanctioned, as you recall, our basketball group was sanctioned last fall, and so our band booster club would like to take that next step and become sanctioned. You have all their documents in front of you, and a lot of credit goes out to their parent leadership and their willingness to take this next step.
Awesome. Discussions, questions?
Make a motion to approve?
Second?
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Ena. Next item, new business. We have none. Next item, 68, executive session.
Make a motion to enter, excuse me, enter into executive session?
Second?
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Thank you. Everyone have a wonderful evening.
All right, I acknowledge that we return to open session. And read my statement.
You got a
Yes.
statement by the executive session.
The Board of Education and Dr. Janet Dunlop, Michelle Bergwall, and Natalie Eniff entered into executive session at 7:10 p.m. to discuss proposed negotiations with Broken Arrow Education Association, BAEA, pursuant to Oklahoma Statute 25 OS Section 307B2. Also to discuss the purchase of certain real property, 25 OS Section 307B3, and to discuss the superintendent's evaluation and contractual terms pursuant to 25 OS Section 307B1. At 7:37 p.m., Natalie Eniff departed executive session. At 7:50 p.m., Michelle Bergwall departed executive session. At 8:03 p.m., Dr. Janet Dunlop departed executive session. And at 8:13 p.m., Dr. Janet Dunlop re-entered executive session. The Board of Education returned to open session at 8:38 p.m. along with Dr. Janet Dunlop. This constitutes the minutes of the executive session.
Thank you. Good job.
Number 70.
Move to table.
No, 70 is going to be the BAEA agreement.
Okay, let me go ahead and discuss why I'm saying to table. Because there was no need to approve any agreement, because there's no agreement that's been reached. So, in actuality, we listened and we gave, you see what I'm saying? We didn't really take, we're not taking any action.
There's no agreements?
No.
Okay. But, okay, I got you. I thought that was where we discussed allow that, or was that earlier?
No, we just gave her the.
No, we didn't do anything that required any action on our part as a board.
Just gave her the, told her to go with.
Yeah, that should have been just info because you had already approved them going into negotiations.
Because it's right here on number 62, we approved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so just move the table?
Yes.
72? Okay.
We need a second.
Need a second, please.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to table item 70. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Item 71.
Move to table.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to table item 71. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Item 72, Ms. Kelly, do you think you should
Yes. Yes.
add what that
Yes.
was? Okay.
Move to modify the terms of the superintendent contract, extending an additional year on the current contract.
Got a motion.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Next, item 73 to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.